The Room We Left Open. The Room We Left Open, Chapter 1, Part 1. The door is still open. The wind moves through it, slow, careful, like it knows what it's touching. Each gust brings the smell of rain and the faint sound of the street. Water on asphalt, a car passing, the whisper of tires. Mark sits in the dark, shirt sleeves rolled, drink untouched beside him. He should close it. He doesn't. The curtain breathes with the wind. He watches it rise, fall, rise again. He tells himself he'll stand in a minute. Just one more. The house feels too still when the air stops moving. He can still see the trace of her, Elena, in the way the chair is pulled out halfway, the half-drunk cup on the counter, the book she left open on the armrest. He hasn't moved any of it. Not because he's sentimental, but because moving things would mean she isn't coming back. He thinks she might. He knows she won't. The rain starts again, steady this time. The glass rattles in the frame. He stands, walks to the door, looks out. The light from the street bends through the rain like old film. A couple crosses under an umbrella. They walk close, their heads touching. He turns away. The phone rings once, then stops. He remembers the last time she called, 2 nights ago. He let it go to voicemail. The message was short. I left something in the drawer. He hasn't opened it. The hotel, weeks earlier. The morning had been bright, but heavy, like light carrying too much air. The sea outside the window was motionless. Elena sat on the balcony railing, barefoot, smoking one of his cigarettes. You shouldn't do that, Mark said from inside. What? Sit like that. You'll fall. She smiled without turning. You'd catch me. He was buttoning his shirt, watching her reflection in the glass. You trust me too much. I used to. The wind was soft that day, the kind that carries warmth without comfort. The curtains moved as if the room itself breathed. She dropped the cigarette, crushed it out with her heel, then came back inside. I booked the train, she said. He looked up. For when? Tomorrow. He nodded. You're sure? I'm tired of being sure. The words hung there. She poured herself coffee, black, and drank it cold. The hotel was small, only 4 floors, most of it empty. The walls smelled of salt and detergent. Downstairs, the clerk had fallen asleep behind the desk. It was that kind of place. Things kept going even when no one was watching. Mark came to the balcony and leaned beside her. We could stay a few more days, he said. No rush. There's always a rush, she said. It just hides better here. He didn't answer. The horizon was too clean. Do you remember, she said, that winter in Maine? The cabin, the stove that didn't work. Barely. You remember. I remember the cold. And the way you looked at me, she said. Like you believed we were safe. He smiled a little. We were. No, she said, quiet now. We were pretending. The sea broke somewhere below, invisible but loud enough to fill the pause. The room, present. Mark sits again. The ice in his glass has melted. He drinks anyway. The whiskey tastes like rainwater and wood. He hears a knock. Faint, maybe not real. He waits. Nothing. The lamp hums beside him. The light's too yellow, too tired. He thinks of fixing it, but doesn't. He crosses to the drawer. The one she mentioned. It's half stuck. He has to pull hard. Inside, a note. Folded once. His name on the outside, written in her hand. The small, neat writing of someone who plans what they say. He doesn't open it. He just stares at the paper, thumb pressed against the edge. When he finally unfolds it, there's only one line. Don't forget the tide. He frowns, reads it again. Tide. They hadn't lived near the water since she left teaching. It makes no sense. Unless. He sets it down, walks to the window. The rain's easing now. In the reflection, he sees himself, the door behind him, still open. The room looks older in the glass, like memory does when you stare too long. The hotel passed. Elena walks down to the shore. The sand is cool, wet from last night's rain. She takes her shoes off, carries them by the laces. Mark follows a few steps behind, his hands in his pockets. You always walk faster when you're leaving, he says. She laughs softly. And you always follow slower when you're staying. The sea is gray but calm. They stop near the edge, where the foam thins into lace. The tide is rising. Don't forget the tide, she says. He looks at her. What? You used to say that. When we'd camp by the water. You'd wake me up to move the tent. You said the tide always comes closer than you expect. He nods. It still does. They stand in silence, waves brushing their ankles. A gull cries above, sharp and distant. I hate endings, she says. You start them anyway. I don't mean to. I know. She kneels, picks up a shell, studies it. It's cracked down the middle, one side clean, the other worn thin. She tosses it back into the surf. Mark says, "You'll go north." She nods. "You'll stay here?" "For a while." "You never stay anywhere long." "I stayed with you." She looks at him then, eyes steady. "No, you waited with me." "That's not the same thing." The tide reaches farther. Water seeps into his shoes. She smiles faintly, seeing it. "You'll never learn." "About tides?" "About when to move." The room, present. Mark folds the note again, puts it back in the drawer. The sound of the paper is small but clear. He stands, goes to the door, and finally closes it. The click is louder than he expects. He turns off the lamp. The dark settles. Then, just before he sits, he hears the faintest sound from somewhere in the hall. A voice maybe, or maybe whined through another door left open. He waits. Nothing. He looks at the clock, 2:14 a.m., the time she used to wake, always restless before storms. He pours another drink, sits by the window, and listens to the night breathe. Outside, the rain starts again, softer now, as if the storm is remembering how it began. The room we left open, Chapter 1, Part 2. The morning smells of wet wood. Mark wakes on the couch. The glass is still on the table, half empty. Light leaks through the curtains, pale and uncertain. He listens for sound in the rest of the house. None. The air feels heavier than it should. He gets up, opens the window. Outside, the street glistens. Puddles in the cracks of the sidewalk reflect a washed-out sky. A child rides past on a bicycle, jacket hood up, wheels spraying water. For a moment, he thinks about calling her, Elena, but the thought ends before it becomes motion. What would he say? "Come back, it's different now." It never is. He goes to the drawer again, takes the note out. "Don't forget the tide." He runs a thumb along the fold. There's an old photograph behind it, one he didn't notice before. The two of them at the harbor, sunlight, wind in her hair, his hand shading his eyes. The sea in the background, blinding and alive. He sets the photo on the table and stares at it. Then he reaches for the keys. The hotel, the day before she left. The air conditioner in the room hums like a trapped insect. Elena lies on the bed, hair damp from the shower. Mark sits near the window, tying his shoes. She says, "You could come north." He doesn't look up. "I could." "Then say you will." He keeps tying. "I don't know where I'm going yet." "You never do. That's the point, isn't it?" He straightens, meets her eyes in the mirror. The point? To keep moving so nothing catches up. He laughs once, softly. "What would catch me?" "Me," she says. The sound between them thickens. The hum of the air, the faint cry of gulls outside. She looks at the ceiling. "You'll write about this one day." "No," he says. "I'll forget it." "You won't." The rain starts again. She sits up, wraps the sheet around her shoulders. "I don't understand you," she says. He shrugs. "That's all right." "It's not all right." He turns toward her. "What do you want me to say, Elena?" "That you'll remember." He looks at her for a long moment, then nods. "I will." She stands, walks to him, presses her hand against his chest, just above the heart. "Not like that. I want you to remember what it felt like before we started breaking it." He closes his eyes. "That part's harder. It's the only part worth it." The room, present. The road west of town runs straight for 20 miles before bending toward the sea. Mark drives it without the radio, windows cracked, the scent of rain and diesel filling the car. The wind shifts as he nears the coast. He can smell salt before he can see the water. He parks near the old harbor. The lot is half empty. Boats rock in the gentle tide, ropes creaking, hulls brushing against one another. The storm from the night before has left everything clean and damp, as if the world's been washed and left to dry. He walks down the dock, passing the spot where they used to sit, 2 planks from the end, the one with her initials carved into the wood. They're still there, faint now, but visible. He traces them with his thumb. The tide is coming in. He checks his watch, noon. The wind carries gull cries and the sound of a bell buoy out beyond the breakwater. He sits and watches the horizon. The sea looks different than he remembers. Or maybe he does. He closes his eyes and hears her voice again. "Don't forget the tide." It comes to him then, what she meant. The hotel, passed, last morning. They wake early. The light through the curtains is gray and still. Elena packs in silence, her hands sure, her movements small. She folds her blouse, her notebook, the book she's been pretending to read. Mark stands near the door, watching. He says, "You could stay one more day." She shakes her head. "If I stay, it'll be harder." "Harder for who?" "For both." He nods. "You always decide when the music stops." "Someone has to." He laughs. "And you think you're the only one who hears it." She stops packing. "No," she says quietly. "You hear it too. You just pretend it's wind." He doesn't answer. The air between them feels tight, like a string pulled too long. She zips the bag, sets it on the bed, and sits beside it. "Come with me," she says. "Just once. Don't think about it. Just come." He looks at her and almost says yes. But he doesn't. She nods as if she knew. Then she reaches out, touches his face with her fingertips, and whispers, "Don't forget the tide." He closes his eyes. When he opens them again, she's gone. The room, present. The sky is clear now, the color of glass. Mark stands on the pier, wind in his hair, salt on his lips. He watches the waves crawl closer, one by one. The tide is nearly full. He kneels and opens the small box he brought, the one from her drawer. Inside, the note. The photograph. Nothing else. He tears the note in half, then into quarters, and lets the pieces go. The wind catches them, spins them once, twice, and drops them into the sea. The water takes them without hesitation. He stays there until the horizon begins to blur. He whispers her name once, quietly, then again louder. The sound is swallowed by the wind. When he stands, he sees a figure far down the shore, a woman walking near the edge, her hair blown across her face, her shape too familiar. For a moment, he almost calls out, but the distance between them doesn't close. She keeps walking, the sea following her footsteps. He watches until she disappears into the curve of the bay. Then he turns back toward the town. The hotel memory. It's later now, but he sees it as if it's still happening. The elevator doors closing, the dull mirror reflecting his face. Her voice echoing down the hall, soft, unsteady. The smell of salt through the window. He sees her walking toward the train station, bag in hand, wind pressing her coat against her legs. The street wet with morning rain. She stops once, turns halfway, as if listening. Then she goes on. He never followed. Not that day. Not any day. The room, present. Mark returns home after dark. The door is still closed, the air inside cool. The house smells faintly of the sea, though he can't tell if it's real or memory. He sets the keys on the table, sits again by the window. The silence feels softer now. Not empty, just quiet. He looks at the spot where the curtain moves. The breeze is gentler. He closes his eyes and imagines the hotel balcony, the sound of the lighter, the gray sea stretching beyond it. He imagines her voice, low and certain. "You'll write about this, won't you?" And this time, he answers her out loud. "Yes." The word hangs there, small and steady. He reaches to turn off the lamp, then stops, leaves it on. The light pulls against the wall, warm and tired. The wind touches the curtain once more. He lets it. Chapter 2, Part 1. The town smelled of salt and wet asphalt when Mark arrived. The streets were empty, narrow, pressed close with buildings that leaned like they were listening. The harbor's water was high, gray and rolling under the early morning light. The storm from the week before had left small pools along the curbs, reflecting the sky like broken mirrors. He parked near the old hotel. Its paint was peeling in thin strips, wood swollen from damp, but it still held the shape he remembered. The sign creaked on its chain, swinging gently with the breeze. He walked up the steps. The bell in the lobby was silent. The clerk behind the desk read a newspaper, glasses low on his nose. "Morning," Mark said. "Morning," the clerk said, without looking up. Mark ran a hand along the counter. The wood was worn, smooth where people leaned. "Is this room available?" "Which one?" "The one on the third floor. The balcony room." Elena stayed there. The clerk raised his eyes slowly. Recognition came, faint, like a shadow passing. "Third floor," he said. "Empty now." Mark nodded. He dropped his bag on the floor, went up the stairs, each step creaking under his weight. The hallway smelled of detergent and old rain. He paused at the door. The balcony. He remembered the cigarette smoke curling, the gray sea stretching beyond, the light falling on her hair. The key in his pocket felt heavy.